Good evening and welcome back to the weekly question and answer series of Anash.org. Question: when there's a Chnosa Sefer Torah in town, let's say a small town, until when do we not say Tachnan? The answer is the whole day. The Friedige Rebbe writes in Igros Kodesh, Chelik Vov Umad Ein Dalet. He writes regarding Chnosa Sefer Torah, and he says, Hayoyim Hazeh Hoyoyim de Pagre Ashloi Omre Le Tachnan. That means today, that day of the Chnosa Sefer Torah, it was a day of festival, and we didn't say Tachnan. So from this, we see that he didn't say Tachnan from the morning. Although the Chnosa Sefer Torah usually is after Mincha, and some poskim say that only by Mincha you shouldn't say Tachnan, but in the morning Shachas you do say Tachnan. But according to the Friedige Rebbe, the whole day you don't say Tachnan because it's the whole day is a Simcha Dige day. But that's only that day. The next day you say already Tachnan. Some Svardische poskim write that by there was a minig that 7 days after the Chnosa Sefer Torah you didn't say Tachna because it was like a Simcha, like Chosan Vakala, which is 7 days Sheva Brachas. But by us the minig is only the day of the Chnosa Sefer Torah, but that day is even in the morning you don't say Tachna. That's in a small town. Regarding a big city, that's for instance in Borough Park, in Crown Heights, in Monsey, when they're in one shul, they give in a Sefer Torah. Do we say in other shuls Tachnan? The answer is it depends if one shul has to do with other shul. Most of the time, when you give in a Sefer Torah in one shul, or other shuls have no shaykhs with this Simcha. So if they have no shaykhs with the Simcha, you do say Tachnan. In a small town, when you put in a Sefer Torah, you're putting in a Sefer Torah, the whole town is besimcha. Everybody is invited, everybody participates. So the whole town, even though there's more than one shul, won't say Tachnan. But in the big city, only the people who have shaykhs with the simchas of Chnosa Sefer Torah, or the shul which we are giving into the Sefer Torah, you don't say Tachnan. All other shuls do say Tachnan. Question: but the evet, if a person put food under a bed, is he permitted to eat? Is it allowed to eat it or not? And what is if no one slept on the bed? This is a question which is a common question. People forget stuff food under the bed. And the question is, could you eat it or not? Now, the Shulchan Aruch in Yeridai Simon Kif Tezayin, the Shulchan Aruch writes like this: "V'lo yiten tafshel v'lo yimashkin tachas hamita." You should not give any food or beverages under the bed. Mipnei sheriach ru shoyer alayim. There's a riach ru which goes on the food, and therefore you should not put any machel under the bed. This is also the illusion of the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch in the Choshe Mishpat, Hilchas Shmiras Hagiv HaNefesh, Siv Zayin, which the Alter Rebbe writes, V'lo yiten tafshel oishar ochlam imashkin tachsamita, almost the same wording as the Bes Yosef in Shulchan Aruch. This is according to the Yerushalmi, because according to the Yerushalmi, if a person puts in food under the bed, you could eat it with the evet, and that's why the Shulchan Aruch of the Bes Yosef and the Shulchan Aruch of the Alter Rebbe writes lo yiten tafshel. You should not give food under the bed. It doesn't say you should not eat food which was under the bed. It says you should not give food under the bed. That means you should not put it, you should not place it under the bed. But if you place it under the bed, but the evet, it's not a problem, and you can eat it. It's like the Yerushalmi. The Bavli, it's mashma that you shouldn't eat even with the evet. But according to the Yerushalmi, it is only a lekitchila and it's not a b'di evet. Why do we take the Yerushalmi versus the Bavli, which usually we pass like the Bavli against the Yerushalmi? The Achronim have a whole shmiz, but in this situation, we see the Alter Rebbe and the Shulchan Aruch writes lo yitain, and they don't write lo yoichal. That means it's only lekitchila and not b'di evet. There is a very nice raya which the Shvis Yankiv brings to this heter. The Shvis Yankiv is brought in Gusel Kiva Eiger Yad Ephraim on the Machaber, which we mentioned before. And the Shvis Yankiv is the Chalik Bai Simon Kif High, and it brings a very nice raya to it. We see the Gemara writes that a Talmud Chochem should not eat by Amoretz. Why? Because Amoretz does not do properly his fruit and vegetables. He does not give proper maser and truma. It's not mesuken properly. So therefore, a Talmud Chochem should not eat by Amoretz. So he asks, why does the Gemara doesn't say that a Talmud Chochem should not eat by Amoretz? Another reason, because Amoretz usually places also food under the bed, and you cannot eat food which is under the bed. Why did the Gemara say only because he's not masaking his food properly? In any case, he cannot eat by Amoretz, because they use and place food under the bed. So from this we see that because of placing food under the bed, you can still eat by Amoretz, because it's not also by the Evet. That's why the Gemara says the reason why you should eat by Amoretz, because he does not masaking his food properly. So so we see again that by the Evet it is not also to eat. Now, if nobody slept on it, we have another heter too. The Toras Chaim writes Masechta Shviyos Daf Tezvov that if a person did not sleep on the bed, it is much more lenient, and therefore it is a tzirif to be Michael on food which is under the bed. Now that's strictly halacha, but midas Chassidus, and I know a lot of Yidden Chassidim are makpet that they wouldn't eat food which was under the bed, and they will give it away for non-Jews, etc. But strictly halacha, a person had placed food under the bed, and it's a lot of food, it's cost a lot of money. He could use it with the Eved and eat it and drink it. Next question. Please discuss the halachas of tznius for a young boy. It's like, up to what age may a young boy be hugged by his aunt or other women? Till when can he listen to his older sister and friends singing? Watch videos of girls' performance. Also sleeping in the same room as a sister. At what age is it a midas Chassidus? And when is it permissible? This question has a lot of details and a lot of stages. For instance, the Bezdin of Crownites gave out a letter on Immune Tznius in Iyar Tavshi Mem Zayin. And over there, they write, one of the things they write, that a boy from 3 and up, you should not take to the swimming pool together with his mother or other females. So we see that regarding taking a boy swimming, it is already from the age of 3 and up. When it comes of hugging siblings or aunt or other women, me'ikar adin, a girl which is under a gedoyle, that means she's under 12, strictly halacha, is not a problem that a brother should hug a younger sister which is under 12. The Machaber writes in Even Ezer, Simach of Aleph Sif Zayin, HaMachabek or HaManashik, Aches meharoyes, Sha'ayin libe sheludim nakfo yalayim. That means a person hugs or kisses one of his aroyas, that means a sister or an aunt, which ein libe shaluda nokva, that means he doesn't have, he doesn't get, excited of it. And the Mechaber writes, Kigam achoisa hagdoila, or a sister of your father, even though he doesn't have a no, harayze meguna. V'dover iser imasa tipshu. So we see already from the Mechaber basically that the Mechaber writes achoisa hagdoila. So we see only when achoisa is hagdoila, you should not hug and kiss her. If it's less than gedoila, then it doesn't say that it's a iser. But the Mechaber finishes in the same sieve. She'ain krayvim le'erve klal, ban gedoile ban kitana, you don't get close to any erve, a big one or a small one. Chutz ma'av lebitoy, a father to the daughter, and a mother to the son. So the beginning, the Mechaber writes, the iser is only achoisa hagdoila. But he finishes up, you don't hug and kiss, you don't get close to any of the ervers, even though if they're small, they're young, except a father to the daughter and a mother to the child. So we see already the Mechaber says even under bas mitzvah, under gedoyle, you shouldn't get close to a roy. So what is the geder? So we find that in Kaf HaChaim, for Chaim Balaji, Siman Dalet Sivuv, he writes, a person should make sure he shouldn't let his wife or daughters or daughter-in-laws to play around, and that's also hugging and kissing with boys over 8 years old. Because over 8 years old, it's a thing which you don't get close to a erva, and it could come to a virus. And he brings that in Chavas Yuer, Siman Ein Bais, we see already that even boys from 9 years old could get to a virus. So he writes from 8 years old and up, you don't get close to a erva. So when it comes to being hugged by your aunt, by your other women, from 8 years old, you make sure that you don't hug and kiss anymore. That's already big enough that you shouldn't get close to aroyos, to erva. The same will go also a sister-in-law to a younger brother-in-law, or a brother-in-law to a younger sister-in-law. Sometimes, the brother-in-law he's 30 years old or older, and he has a sister-in-law which is 8, 9. You cannot touch her anymore, hug her, because that goes into ein kraive la royes by gedoyle by kitana. This is Reb Chaim Pelagi writes. This is regarding hugging, kissing. Regarding when it comes to hearing your sister singing, Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach writes in Alichas Shloime that from the age of 9, a boy should not hear a girl, even a sister, koil zemer shel isha. You shouldn't hear singing of an older girl or lady. So from 9 years old, you shouldn't hear singing. And then this will also go to a performance which has dancing and singing. When it comes to performance, a video of girls performing without dancing or singing, let's say a play, then you could be makel, I would say, at least even till 10 years old. But if it has singing or dancing, above 9, he could not hear anymore singing of a bigger sister. Regarding what he asking, sleeping in one room with a sister, when is it in Midas Chasidus? Again, we mentioned before the Kaf HaChaim that from 8 years old you shouldn't hug and get close to a erva. So therefore, sleeping in one room is from 8 years old, is also kedai to be machman, not to, they should have a separate room from 8 years and older. I saw Anita Gavril Chasichet, he writes from 6 years old. If you could do it for 6 years old, Harayze Meshubach, but if you can't, at least from 8 years old, the boy should have a separate room and not sleep with his sister. Next question. Can I be machavan at the time when I make a bracha? Always when I make a bracha, that it should cover other rooms, that I should be able to eat in other rooms. And the answer is yes. If you have in mind, always when you make a bracha, that I'm going to go around in my house eating in other rooms, since you have kavanah when you make the bracha, you could walk around and eat. And you could make, every time when you make a bracha, have kavanah that I'm going to eat in other rooms. Question. I had a guest on Shabbos, non-Lubavitcher. And when I told them that by us in Chabad, we don't eat any nuts which has shells, she said she never heard such a thing. And in their whole house, only peanuts which has shells they don't eat. But all other nuts they do eat, even though it has shells. Could you please explain pshat, if there's any difference between nuts and peanuts? Okay, the answer is like this. There is halacha that any food which has two shells, two covers, two clippers, which one they take off usually in the field, and the other one you take off usually in the house, which is basically most of the nuts comes with two shells. The first one, the big one, the green one, they take off in the field, and the other one comes in the store, in your house. So if you get such a nut, and you will take off on Shabbos the outer nut, that means the green nut, the outer layer, there is a problem of dosh, threshing. Because threshing is, you take a food which has two clippers, two covers, two shells, one they take off in field, and that is called threshing, dosh. If you take off only the inner cover, that means a pistachio nut which comes with a cover, and you take it off on Shabbos, it's not a problem of dosh. So when it comes to most of the nuts which we get only with one shell, and we don't get it with the other shell, there is no problem to open it on Shabbos because of dosh, because it has only one shell. But when it comes to peanuts, since peanuts has two shells, the hard shell, and inside there is another shell, which is a soft one, which some people will eat also. When you take this off at home, it should have been a problem of taking off of dosh, because it has two shells. And it should be a problem of dosh. The same will go to a garlic. Every garlic has one big shell around the whole garlic. Then on each clove of garlic, there's another shell. So you have two shells. When you take off the other shell, the outside shell from a garlic, it should be a problem of dosh. So why isn't it dosh? So the Avnai writes, and the Ketzois HaShilcha writes, that only a shell which is made to take off on the field, and you take it off in your house on Shabbos, that's a problem of dosh. If it is a shell which is made to take off in your house, even if it has two shells, for instance peanuts or garlic which has two shells, since it's made, most of the people get it in house with the two shells and they take it off, it's not a problem of dosh. So therefore, the Avnai holds that taking off the shell of a peanut or of a garlic is no problem. Now, regarding peanuts, it's not so posh, because nowadays most of the people buy peanuts which has no shell. It's taken off before it comes into his house. So there's no heter of the Avnai and Ketzois HaShilcha that since most people get it with 2 shells and it's made to take off at home, it's not dosh, because most of the people do not get it today's day with the 2 shells, and therefore it is a problem of dosh according to the Adonaizer and Tzesser Shulchan. But when it comes to garlic, it is still the cider, the norm that you get it with 2 shells, and therefore garlic there's no problem. So therefore the V'yan Yosef of Pupa and the Shavet Levi writes you shouldn't eat peanuts on Shabbos because peanuts is a thing which has a problem of dosh. All other nuts, there's no problem of dosh. When it comes to garlic, which everybody takes off at home, there's no problem. So therefore they write only peanuts you shouldn't eat. We, the Tzemach Tzedek, has another killer. He writes that any time when the fruit is not connected to the shell, it's not a problem of dosh. Only when the fruit is connected to the shell. So when it comes to peanuts, although the Adonaizer and Tzesser Shulchan's heter does not apply today's day, because today's day most of the people get the peanuts without the shell, but it applies the Tzemach Tzedek's heter that what? That since peanuts, the nut is not connected to the shell. That's why when you shake the shell, you can hear how the peanuts moves inside because it's not connected. So he writes, any time when the peanut is not connected to the shell, it's not a problem of dosh. So therefore, according to the Tzemach Tzedek, we have no problem of eating even peanuts on Shabbos because it's not a problem of dosh. But that's if the problem is dosh. We know the Alter Rebbe, which is our poisik, and we pass know the Alter Rebbe, so we have to follow him. He writes in Siddur that we should not eat any peanut, any nut which has a shell. And not because of dosh, because of a problem of muktzah or boirer. Because when you're going to eat nuts which has shell, a lot of times you will take out the shell which is without the fruit, you'll take it out and you can be boirer p'sois with the choichel. And when you take out p'sois with the choichel, it's isa d'oraisa. So therefore he says, stay away from eating nuts because you're going to come to isa boirer. Or when you take out the shell and you play with the shell, it is muktzah. So you have a problem of muktzah and boirer, and since it's very hard to watch of this serum, the Alter Rebbe writes, you should not eat any nuts which have shell. For us, it's no difference. We don't eat any nuts which have shells because we are a chassidim of the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe writes not to use any nuts. But other people which do not go according to the Alter Rebbe, they will eat other nuts which doesn't have shell. And some people will be machmer not to eat peanuts because the problem of dosh. Okay, we're going to stop here. And please join us next week and send in your questions to inbox@Anash.org. Good night and have a wonderful week.